I want to start off this evening by asking you to think about your 5 closest friends, or the 5 closest people to you. What do they look like? How do they act? How did you meet them, maybe? If I had met them and I'd never met you, what would they be able to maybe tell me about you? How do they represent you? I love this quote by Will Smith. In essence, he says to look at your 5 closest friends. They represent who you are. So, if you don't really like who you are, that's probably a good place to start. Now, it would be absolutely naive of me to stand up here tonight and deny the impact that diversity and inclusion has had on our society over the past year. I mean, absolutely shattering the social norms that our democratic and capitalist society has held on to for centuries. With ever-increasing access to books, seminars, workshops, you name it, you could become the DEI social justice warrior of your dreams, with all of the vocab, certificates, and books to prove it. But I am not here to talk about any of that tonight. I'm not here to supplement that. I'm not here to help that, though they are in the same vein. I am here to challenge you to take one simple action, to make one simple change in your life. Make new friends. See, I told you it'd be easy. Now, in 2014, the Washington Post took this country by storm with one simple headline. 3/4 of white Americans don't have any non-white friends. Let me say that one more time. 3/4 of white Americans don't have any non-white friends. Now, this was in 2014. However, the data is showing you that this is still very true and very real. They explained it like this. In a 100-friend scenario, the average white American will have 91 white friends, the rest of them being made up from very specific subsets of racial and ethnic groups, usually due to proximity. So maybe someone that you go to work with, coworker, maybe someone that you're at the gym with when you meet them, maybe even somebody that you live next door to. Now, you take the average black American and place them in that same exact scenario, they will have 83 black friends. That's still an astonishingly high number. However, the average black American will pursue more genuine cross-racial friendships more often than the average white American. Now, we could chalk this up to population control, minority versus majority. We could even talk about where you live, how long you live there, and do you ever plan on moving? Urban versus suburban versus rural. But that is way too big for me to be talking about on this stage tonight, if I want to finish on time. I want to bring this down to scale. I want to talk about just my experiences at Hope College in my 4 years here. Now, I believe college is and should be the easiest place for you to meet new people. And it is. It's the easiest place for you to meet new people and not know a single thing about them. I mean, besides their name and what classes that you might share together, we as young adults don't really know much about the people that we're in school with. Between COVID and we being young adults, we don't really have great communication skills. I think it's time for us to own up to that. I think it's time for us to, really agree with that. We have serious barriers in front of us, keeping us from really having these genuine relationships. I mean, we're also all trying to get to the degree, that really expensive piece of paper we get at the end of our 4 years. So we're not really focusing on the people around us. We're not really focusing on why we need those relationships. I think back to a very recent phone conversation I was having with my mom. We were on the phone, and in the process of me leaving my room, going to the dining hall, and coming back, my mom had probably heard 8 to 10 people acknowledge me or say hi to me in some sort of capacity, some sort of small talk. My mom, who always has believed that she's a world-class comedian, decided to say, "Oh, you're popular, huh?" Thanks, Mom. Like I never had friends. I quickly responded, "No, they do not know me. They only know Taylor." I like to think that the people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis acknowledge, and hopefully tolerate my race and gender. But I'm highly doubtful that they acknowledge the intersectionality of me being a Black American woman at a PWI in a small Christian conservative town and how that affects my experiences here. I mean, I have this weird thing that sometimes I sit and I think about, that if one of these people I interact with in small talk or in passing them by were to ever be challenged on their diversity efforts, would they use me as their Black friend to defend themselves? I mean, we've all heard this phrase before. How can I be racist, colorist, sexist, xenophobic, homophobic when I have a blank friend? Has anyone ever said, how can I be racist when I have a Black friend? You know Taylor, curly-headed, small Taylor, and they did this to me because they don't know my actual height. Have they ever used me as a Black friend to defend themselves? And now I'm sure you're like, Taylor, this is all great information. Thank you for reminding us of these things, but what does this have to do with each other? It is very real to understand the difference between acknowledging and accepting people in your lives. And that is what I want to push. Acknowledging someone that you sit next to and actually accepting them as being a part of your day-to-day life. And so, if you pull nothing else from this talk tonight, and you hear nothing else I say, I want to get this one point across. Cross-racial friendships provide a more nuanced and layered experience of life that helps you to form your racial identity. I'm going to let you wrestle with that one. I want to highlight racial identity. Now, in my 4 years here at Hope College, I've done a lot of work when it comes to DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I am the social justice warrior that I mocked at the beginning. Now, when I do this work, at the core of it are these two models. And I've learned a lot about this under the leadership of CDI and at the helm of our former director, Vanessa Green, who's in the audience tonight. And this was really, truly at the core of our work. So, if you've never seen these before, congratulations. You're welcome. I've exposed you to something new. And if you have seen these before, well, congratulations. I'm hoping these are a refresher. These are the identity development models for race. These are minority and white identity development models. And like I said, these are a core. They're kind of like a life map, I like to call them. A way for you to really look at how do your experiences affect you and how you interact with people on a day-to-day basis. These are not experienced linearly because you are a person that constantly grows and evolves, and your experiences change. So, of course, you're going to be on different places through different points of your life on this map. And now, I could talk about this all night long, as these are very dense maps. However, I want to point out two similarities that both of them have. For the cross model, we have the beginning with pre-encounter, assimilation. This is where you have decided that you're going to survive as a person of color. And it is easier for you to deny that you will ever be subjected to racial or prejudice incidences because if you deny them and you act like they didn't happen, you don't have to deal with that trauma. And for the Helms model, you have contact, denial. You are denying that the system is broken and that you in some way still benefit from that system and that you exist in privilege. That if you deny all of that, then you also won't have to deal with it. And then you have the end. For our cross model, we have internalization commitment. That is growth. That is where you know that the world is still good and that there are still good things that happen for us. However, we have to fight for an equitable and fair society, and we have to work towards something better. And for our Helms model, we have autonomy. As it says, you are a change agent. You recognize the system is broken, but you recognize you also you benefit from it, and there's privilege in that. However, you also know that if you fight for that equitable and fair society, it'll benefit you because it benefits others, because we are interconnected. This is so valuable and important because I wonder if you were exposed to this maybe at middle school or the beginning of your high school career, and you were told in 4 to 8 years to pick a point on this map where you want it to be, how would that affect your choices in life? Maybe what college you chose. Maybe the career path you would take. Maybe how you socialized. Really important things to think about here. And so, if you haven't been convinced enough that you need to take this road in pursuing a more nuanced and layered experience of life, don't worry, I have something for you. My 5 benefits of cross-racial relationships through my own observation through my time here at Hope. Let's crack into them. 1, authenticity. If you are true to yourself and your own spirit, then you're going to be true to others. And this is something that we're automatically going to agree upon once we enter into our relationship. Authenticity is given. It is expected. Accountability. Because we are going to be authentic with each other, I'm going to hold you accountable because I know you are not a perfect person. And we're going to say things that might hurt each other. However, it would be absolutely naive of me, and it would not serve either of us if I didn't help you and call you out when you were wrong, because I expect the same from you. And because we're going to be authentic and we're going to be accountable, we are going to be vulnerable. We as students of color experience trauma in very different ways throughout life and on this campus at times. However, I don't want to negate the pain and trauma that you feel. So because of that, we are going to share in that vulnerability. I want you to lay it out on the table with me and feel comfortable in knowing that I'm there for you. Because there's love. We have loving relationships. When me and my other students of color, my family, I call them, are walking around campus, or maybe we're talking, we laugh, and we laugh really loud. We run around. We are big with our laughter. And oftentimes, people have never seen that before, never seen the way that we interact. Their first thing is, oh, what is going on over there? But that is how we connect. That's always how we've connected. That is love, and I love our joy with each other. So we are going to be loving with each other. And lastly, access to resources. I believe that when you've been told you can have everything from sea to shining sea, and then you're asked to give something up, you take that as offense. Whereas we, as students of color, have watched our parents strip themselves of their identity to give us survival and give us a place here. So because of that, if I know I can't do good work with something, I'm okay with giving it up, giving it away to someone who can. These are givens. So now I ask you, do you see these 5 benefits currently reflected in your relationships? Be honest. It is okay if you do not. But remember what I said at the beginning. You now know what you need to do. You now know the next steps you need to take. Now, imagine if I stood up here and I told you to do all these things and I wasn't doing it myself. So, I want to present to you some of the examples of my own life where I have pursued a more nuanced and layered experience of life to form my own racial identity. These are my beautiful friends. Jacob Vanderoost, who is a speaker tonight. Michaela Zobek, who is another speaker. My sister, my friend, I love you. Brennan Church, who is on tech tonight. Mallory Shin, Jillian Chang, Vicente Bickle, my partner in crime, I miss you. Krista Nelson, Sophie Ross Miller. These are the people that have shown me friendship and love in a whole different way. And yes, my core group of friends are African American. They identify just like me. Because we share experiences, we are going to connect automatically. But these are examples of me pursuing different experiences and different points of view. At the end of a lot of seminars, at the end of every seminar, people often come up and ask me questions. And the most common question I get is, Taylor, what can I do now? I need to do something now as soon as I leave. And I'll often tell them, well, unlearn your biases. You know, it's time to maybe question everything you know. It's time to really retrain yourself. Learn new things, as I say tonight. Expose yourself. But then I also ask them, how are you socializing? Who are your core group of friends? Who are you talking to on a day-to-day basis? How are you interacting with them? We at Hope, we love to do coffee. We love to take each other out for coffee for some reason. And I always ask them, who are you taking out for coffee? And are you actually having conversations with them? Are you interrogating them? There's a difference between acknowledging and accepting them into your life. And that is what I want to push. I come from a family where little nuggets of wisdom is often how I was given life advice or how I was told things. And ever since I was 6, I was expected to recite and repeat those little nuggets of wisdom. So I want to leave you with one of those nuggets of wisdom from my family tonight. We often meet people in seasons, and sometimes it is just for that season. But other times, we meet people for very specific reasons. Thank you.